Justin, welcome to my podcast. For the ones that don't know you, you're rocking the GFL right now, stat-wise, and also with your team. Only undefeated team in the GFL. That's a bit too broad. I mean, we're talking about the world of football again with the NFL coming up, but of course, we're talking about the GFL here. But thanks for taking out the time and joining me in my podcast.
Of course, glad to be here. Yeah, excited to talk to you a little bit and kind of express myself to some of the people around Germany and fans of the GFL.
Cool. I really appreciate it taking out the time. I know it's a busy week anyway, even though there's probably not as much practice as it is in the States when you go to college and everything, but it is always a tough week to get ready for the games and everything, even if you're 8-0 in the GFL. How does it feel to be 8-0? How does it feel to be where you are right now with the team?
It's been great. I mean, team's been great. Everything about Dresden, I'm sure we'll get into it, has been awesome. Really excited to be here. But I think the coolest part about being undefeated right now is that we still have lots to work on, right? There's lots of mistakes that we still make week in and week out. And I'm sure we'll touch on some of those later as well. But number one on offense for us, at least, being turnovers, especially early in the games. Eliminating those and protecting the football a little bit better. But yeah, I think it's good to be undefeated. I saw something today that we clinched our playoff spot, which is what we're here for. We're here for the playoffs. So yeah, I gotta finish the regular season strong. Hopefully stay undefeated is the goal, and then same thing in the playoffs.
Cool. And you said it, right? You're never too high, you're never too low, right? So there's always something you can learn, but we'll touch on that later. Maybe also on some of the mistakes without giving away too much, right? But
Yep.
The one thing I usually start with when I have guests join is like the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about where did you grow up? How did you get to play football at, I don't know, junior high, high school? How was that experience? And then all the way up towards Southern Utah, where I think you started almost 4 years, right? In Division I football.
Yeah, so I mean, from the very beginning, played as long as I could. I started when I was, I think, 5 years old. They didn't even have anything earlier than that, so I couldn't play any earlier. But when I was really young, probably 4 or so, I played soccer. My dad got me in just the rec soccer league and started playing there. And then he took me over to a high school football game one night, and apparently I told him that's what I want to play. I don't want to play soccer anymore. So started playing football since then. Played all kinds of sports growing up, but football was always a constant one. So played baseball and basketball, lacrosse, track and field, kind of everything in between. But yeah, that stuck with football, and I hope it was the right decision for me. But yeah, played in Southern California is where I grew up for the most part. And then in 2 years into high school, halfway through, my family moved to Utah. And so moving up to Utah was a bit of a change. Switched high schools, and then ended up actually switching high schools again once I got there. Mainly, partially academics, partially for sports, but yeah, it gave me the opportunity to continue playing multiple sports, and then gave me the best opportunity for football as well. So finished at Summit Academy in northern Utah, and then after that went to Snow College, junior college in Utah as well, for kind of tricky, but a fall semester, and started that first year. And then after that semester, went on a mission for my church, Church of Jesus Christ, and went to Romania. So a little experience in Europe, and then was there for 2 years, got back and went back to Snow College for the spring, and then ended up walking on at Southern Utah University FCS program in Southern Utah, and started there. I redshirted my first year there, and then started the rest of the years I was there after that. So a little funky in there with COVID as well. We had a 6-game spring season, and then the rest of, I think three other full seasons in there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, COVID is crazy, right? But
Yeah.
luckily that's behind us. But I think it kind of impacted everybody, whether it's football or not. But interesting story. I didn't read up. Like I tried, of course, researching a little bit, right? But I didn't read up on you actually having been to Europe before. That's so awesome. And mission trips are a great experience, right? To be able
Yeah.
to do that and stuff. So that's really cool to hear. And we'll touch on that probably a little bit later when we talk about like how do you feel in Europe? How did you arrive and all those things? What did you expect? But um, interesting. I think people, when you talked in the very beginning about soccer, right? I think people underestimate that soccer is quite a huge sport, like specifically for young kids in the States. A lot of them play that at first. And then obviously with the school system in the States, that there's multiple sports usually available for a teenager to play. And maybe the decision of what sport to focus on down the road actually happens maybe after high school or something for some of them. When did you feel football is the sport? I mean, besides saying, to your dad when you watched the game, this is what you want to do. You played all the other sports. I think you said lacrosse and other things. How did you then say, okay, football is the one you want to focus on at college?
That's a great question. I would say probably sometime in high school would be when I really started to say, okay, I think this is my thing. I played, my main sports were baseball and football. And so my dad always told me I was a better baseball player than I was a football player. And I probably could have gone a little bit further. He probably changed his mind on that by now, but that was kind of my mindset. Was I got 2 seasons here. I got the summer and fall are for football, and then the winter and spring are for baseball. And then kind of threw in some of those other sports like basketball and lacrosse and swimming and all those things where I had extra time. But I think probably sometime in high school is when I really decided that. There was one day my sophomore year in high school, during it was kind of in our winter break. We weren't really in baseball yet, but we had a couple optional practices that we could do, and I wanted to make it known that football was my priority. And so I went and practiced football that day out on the field where the whole baseball team could see me. Probably wasn't the best thing to do looking back on it. Very immature move, but I think that kind of solidified where I was with sports, and it hadn't changed, and it didn't change after that, where yeah, this is my main sport, and then I'll enjoy playing some of these other sports, but they're not my main focus.
And what makes football your focus? Like what is the difference between, this sport and you saying this is what you want to do and the other ones?
I think part of it is the brotherhood of it all. There are very few sports, if any other ones, that are quite like football, where you rely on everyone so much. With football on offense and on defense, if one guy messes up, your play could be messed up, right? If the corner falls over and hopefully the offense sees that, it's a touchdown. And same thing if your tackle falls over, it's a sack. And so you're relying on 10 guys around you. And then on top of that, especially at higher levels, but even in high school for a lot of guys, is you're only playing one side of the ball. Where baseball and for the most part, and basketball and hockey and all these other sports, for sure, you're playing offense and defense. And so you can have a personally a bigger impact on the game, especially in basketball, right? Everybody talks about, oh, who's the best of all time, and you can have a real debate about that because it's so much of an isolation sport where you can give a guy the ball and he can take over the game. Where with football is, well, even if this guy's incredible and he's the best guy ever, you still need 10 other guys around you to make it happen. And then you come off the field and you got to rely on 11 other guys to get you the ball back, or if you're on defense, to put you back out on defense so you can make another impact. But yeah, I think it's just the ultimate team sport. It's probably a big cliche and people hear it a lot, but I think it is. And it's true that it's so focused on the team, the team, the team, because you have to rely on everybody. You can't get by with having one or two or three great players. You got to have a team full of really high level players.
Yeah, it's probably the sport where each position specializes like no other sports does, right? Like you said, everybody's got their job to do, and it's a game of inches, and each one player can impact that inch, that whether that you gain or that you don't gain. I mean, you don't have to convince me, but I just love hearing that all the time, right? In the brotherhood, right? Not just on the field, off the field, like what you just how you connect, whether it's on the away trips or anything. And I'm curious how you experience the away trips here in the GFL, because I know there's some teams where it can get a bit crazy,
Yeah.
but that's different stories. But okay, love that. I don't even want to call it attitude, mindset, whichever you want to refer to it. And at what time did you become a quarterback? Like, was that from the very beginning that this was the position that you played, or did you start out in a different position and then you kind of like grew into the role? Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was a little bit later on. Growing up, the way our system worked is in California, the league I was in was all based off of age and then your weight. And so I was always kind of a heavier kid, bigger boned. And so I would kind of jump back and forth with the higher or the older team. And my birthday was kind of on the edge of the deadline. So I jumped up, and then the next year I'd stay back and kind of went back and forth. So when I was playing up, I was playing offensive line. And then on defense, I was playing linebacker. And so I got a lot of experience on kind of everywhere on the football field from an early age. And then when I was playing back those other years, I was playing quarterback. And so there was always a little bit of that in there. And then when I got to 8th grade, I told my dad and my parents, hey, I think I want to actually focus on playing quarterback. And so at that point, going into my freshman year in high school in 9th grade, I started working out with a quarterback coach. We found a guy that we really liked, and went to a couple camps that summer and started working with this guy. And then from then on, it was quarterback. And my freshman year and then my senior year, I still played defense as well, but it was always, hey, we need you to play defense, but you're the quarterback, right? And so it was, and I enjoyed playing defense too. I just wanted to be on the field. But yeah, it was probably from 8th grade on. So I was about 14 or so, kind of in that age range.
Yeah, I mean, it as much as you specialize, I think at an early age, it helps so much to have played both ways, right? Because you understand both sides of the ball so much better. So your play as a defender gets better because you understand what the offense is trying to do, and vice versa. But of course, at some point, specifically at Division I level, you need to specialize. There's very few that don't need to. But what is so special about the quarterback position to you? Why did you want to play that position? What makes it the position in football for you?
I think probably because I'm a little bit of a control freak and want to have my hands on everything. That's definitely part of it. Touching the ball every play. When I was playing offensive line, most of the time I was playing center, and so same kind of deal. Like, I want to control the game here. But yeah, I think there's definitely that part of it. Is I feel like it's my responsibility to be in control, and I can handle that pressure, or whatever you want to call it. The mantle that's on a quarterback. I've always felt like, yeah, I want that. Don't shy away from it, and enjoy that more than most people would. And so I think that's definitely part of it. I think there is an aspect of I wasn't as athletic as everybody, and so I need to find a spot that I can make more of an impact with my brain, and maybe less of an impact athletically. And so I think that definitely helped. Again, being kind of a heavier kid growing up, it was, well, I can play offensive line, but I can throw a little bit. So let me dabble with this quarterback thing. And that's just kind of what stuck. I don't know that there's a specific reason, or there was a specific moment that I knew I wanted to play. I don't know what the reason for it was, but it happened, and here we are.
Yeah, I hear you. It's like everybody has a different path towards it, right? I remember when I played quarterback, like I actually was forced as an exaggerated term, but like it was like there was nobody else. I was able to throw the ball quite well, and they needed somebody. It's like, hey, why don't you try? And I was always like,
Yeah.
man, way too much responsibility for me. Not that I'm a shy kid or something, right? But like that's everybody's focused on the quarterback in the
Yeah.
game. So I tried it out, and I guess I kind of grew into it. But everybody has a different path towards it, right? But it's great to hear. Now, going back a little bit to what you told us on your experience at Southern Utah, or maybe even high school. Tell us a little bit about your most memorable moments playing high school and college football. Like what was the north stars of your experience?
I think, I mean, there's a lot of them, and just being around the guys and getting to form relationships with all these guys was some of the best moments. I mean, most of the things I remember most are in the locker room, just goofy stories or just hanging out with guys. I mean, I would spend hours after practice in the locker room just hanging out and talking, and we would do our offensive line protection meetings before games, a couple days before games, and those were some of the funniest meetings you could have had because it was just us and the offensive line, and then you got some tight ends and running backs, and we're focused watching film, and then it's after that it's no rules and talk about whatever you want, have fun, and just be guys. And so I think those are some of the most memorable. But in terms of football, I think one of them would have to be playing at BYU. Just growing up, my family was all BYU all the time, and that's where my both my parents went to university at BYU in Utah, and all four of my grandparents went there, and pretty much my entire family went there, and so. Um, all my extended family, all my aunts and uncles are huge BYU fans. And so growing up, that's all I watched. I was watching BYU football games. I was watching BYU basketball games, and that's who we cheered for. That's how I grew up, was cheering for the Cougars. And so being able to play there my last year, and got recruited a little bit and talked to them out of high school and then out of junior college, but nothing really came about it. And so getting to play there and throw touchdowns on the field and kind of silence the crowd instead of making them go crazy was a really special moment. And then making my whole family cheer for a different team besides BYU was pretty good too.
No, I hear you for sure. And BYU is like the program, right, in Utah. If
Hmm.
you look at football, so that's I can only imagine what experience that must have been. Whether you are exposed to BYU as much as you were, or simply going into the powerhouse of the state, right, and playing them in their house. I think that's a huge experience for anybody. Um, when you look at those combined experiences, high school, college, who had the biggest impact on you as a football player? Maybe a coach you want to call out, or was it, I don't know, like a teammate or your parents or something? Like who or what had the biggest impact on you in football?
I think my dad definitely has to be up there. Throughout, my entire life, he was helping coach um, and learned a lot. I think as he kind of came along, he played in high school. He grew up in Canada, and so he played a little different rules than we did, but played throughout high school, and then actually played a year at BYU. But then growing up with him, kind of pushing me for football, and then ended up that's what I chose. I think he was always pretty involved with it and was really helpful in throwing ideas off of him, right? Whether it's, hey, I got in this situation with the coach, how should I handle it? Whether it was recruiting, trying to get recruited, he was a big factor in all of that. And so I think if it was a most influential, it's definitely him. In terms of football knowledge and development there, each one of my offensive coordinators was huge in that area. I think in my last year in high school, I had a lot of freedom to check plays and call whatever I wanted because our offensive coordinator said, "Hey, I trust you and you see it on the field. I can't always see what's on the field and what looks open because it's a different view from the sideline." And so that gave me more knowledge and more accountability and control in the game. And that has transferred over the years as well. But then getting to Southern Utah, I had 4 different offensive coordinators through my time there. So one every season, basically. Never had one for more than a season. But I had 3 in a row to end it that were really influential in different ways. So I had Matt Wade, who's at Fresno State now, helping their quarterbacks. And he taught me a lot about the defensive side of the game. He saw the defense really well. He was a great game planner, could call plays very well, knew what the defenses were going to do and how to exploit them. And so that was during that COVID time where we didn't have a season and we didn't have a lot to do. And so he called it his QB school, where we went through each week and had to do assignments and watch film and then draw up different defenses and plays and answer test questions and all this stuff. And that was a huge development for my mental side of the game and seeing defenses and knowing what to look for while you're on the field. And then the year after that, Blair Peterson he actually came over from BYU and was huge on seeing space on the field and finding where the open space is, where's our open grass, and how do we get it to our playmakers? How do we let them do their thing, get them an open space and let those guys run? Because I'm not the best runner. I'm not trying to make everything happen on the field. I can get it to these guys and they make my life a lot easier. And then all 3 of these guys as people are just incredible guys. And Coach Peterson especially is a huge role model to me and kind of an older brother, almost a dad type figure for me. And then my last year with Ty Hyatt, he was kind of a mixture of those things, and then added his own thing of just kind of being yourself and helping me to kind of mold and tweak what I needed to tweak at the right times, but kind of extend my vision as a quarterback, I would say. And then he really helped me in my vertical passing game. He loved throwing verticals and calling vertical stuff. And so I think he was a big influence there and helped me in that aspect of my game, which I needed at that point. And so I think, every year there was somebody different. And as much of it seems like, oh man, you had a million offensive coordinators and you're never in the same offense and you couldn't get comfortable. It was just as much of a blessing because I got to meet all these different people and they were giving me new advice that I didn't know. And I got tons of knowledge of these 3 and then many others as well that came and went throughout my career, that I just soak up knowledge and be around people that have been in the game for so long and have coached so many guys and just have different experiences that I could kind of take what I liked and then take what I needed as well and kind of mold it and put it into my game and then become a more well-rounded player.
Yeah, I think people always talk about, okay, is it good, right, to be with the same system, with the same coordinator, maybe for 3 years, because you're really able to grasp that system maybe into as much detail as the coordinator does. But I always feel it's like both has advantages and disadvantages. You spoke a little bit about it, how much different knowledge you were able to gain, right? Also had phases in my career where I had different OCs every year, and I just feel like I was able to take in so much different information and different maybe styles and systems that also helped me later on as a coach, or even before that as a player, to understand these different systems. What am I trying to do with this type of play, with that type of play? So it's great how you also then, go into and reflect on all of these coaches actually having a great impact on you. And I think this all leads then to you being able to make smarter and better decisions on the field for sure.
Yeah.
Which to me is always something that I, as a coach, I always wanted to do that, right? I wanted my quarterbacks, and I love coaching like high school age. I want them already to make their own decisions. They need to understand, why am I calling a play in a specific situation, right? And what could cause this play not to work? And what's the best second option to go with in that moment? And then make the decision. Otherwise, they're just robots out there, and I don't think that's the idea behind football, right? Not as schematic and yeah, mental as it is, from my perspective. But great to hear. Thanks for sharing, for sure. Um, and now you're in Germany, right? You're in Dresden with the Monarchs. You dominate the league right now. So heads off to that for sure. But how did that happen? How did you get exposed to football in Europe? I mean, you talked to us about being in Europe before, on a mission trip, which we can go into a little bit later. But how did you find out about the GFL or other European leagues? And how did you actually finally end up jumping on a plane and landing in Dresden for the 2025 season?
The first time I was exposed to football in Germany was actually or football in Europe in general was on my mission. Talked to a guy that said, "Hey, I play American football here," and so we never ended up connecting or going to practice or anything. But I was like, "Oh, that's pretty interesting that you guys have American football here." And then after that, when I was at Southern Utah, we had a graduate assistant named Ian, and he played over here in the Austrian league, I think is where he played. And so asked him some questions about it at the time, because I was interested. And hey, what's it like? What did you do over there? How much did you travel? What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? All that stuff. And so I knew a little bit about it. Knew that it existed is probably the better way of saying it. And then when I finished playing, I mean, throughout my whole career, I wanted to play in the NFL. And so that was always the goal. And then around my last year, probably early in my senior year, I decided that I was ready to be done. And I was ready to hang it up. And this was going to be kind of the last thing I did in my football career, in terms of playing. And so I told my wife, told my parents, and that was kind of it. I was getting calls from some scout or from some agents, and I obviously had scouts coming over to talk to head coaches about, hey, who you got graduating this year? Who are your seniors? Who do you think can play at the next level? And so I kind of had that conversation with my coaches as well. Like, hey, I don't really need you to put your name out or put my name out and put your reputation on the line here, because I think I'm going to be done. And so I told the same thing to some of the agents that were calling, and they said, best of luck and whatever you decide to do. And so I kind of removed myself from it before I really got the opportunity to do any of it. So didn't end up playing in any Senior Bowl games or any of that. By my own choice. And then I got a normal job working as a banker, and then worked there all of 2024. And I really enjoyed it. Had some great people that I worked with, really awesome people, learned a lot from them, and learned a lot in the business space of both banking and then just business in general. And so great learning experience for me there. And then at the time, before I started working, I was getting some messages about playing in Europe, and I was like, hey, if I wanted to keep playing, I would have kept trying to get in the NFL and go that route, or play in the CFL, or do something like that. So I'm good. I don't want to play. And then come this January 2025, I got another message from the Monarchs, and Coach Kyle here, our offensive line coach and special teams coordinator, and saw that he had messaged me the previous year as well. And so I was looking at it for a while at work one day, just, I don't know, maybe I'll just respond for fun, and not necessarily as a joke, but just to see what he has to say, right? Like, hey, I'll get on a phone call with you. It's probably not going to work or go anywhere, but I might as well. And so I responded on there and said, yeah, sure. here's a couple questions I have off the bat, but we can get on a phone call and tell me what it's all about. And at the time, my wife and kids were up at her parents' house in northern Utah, and we were living in southern Utah still. And so didn't see her for a couple days, probably the last half of a week or so, 3 or 4 days. And this all happened within that time. And so I hadn't talked to her about it because, I mean, I wasn't super serious about it. And then ended up talking to Coach Kyle. And the more I thought about it, the more I was kind of growing on me, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I went back up north that weekend to meet. I don't know what we were doing up there, the holiday weekend or something, but got up there and met my wife and kids at my parents' house. And so I was telling them about it. I said, hey, I got on a phone call today, and they reached out about maybe playing over in Europe. And as I was talking about it, my wife was kind of lighting up, like, oh, this sounds fun. Like, let's do this. And so I finished telling them about it. And my wife and my dad were both like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, all right. And my wife said, let's do it. I was like, whoa, like, I'm not ready to make that decision yet, but I was just kind of messing around, flirting with the idea. And she said, no, let's actually do that. And so obviously we needed a little more time for the logistics of everything, and finding out how it would work here, and if the team could accommodate my wife and kids for at least a little bit of time. And so we weren't away for a whole 7, 8 months, but took a little bit of time, and about a week went by while they were figuring stuff out on their end, and said, Dad, yeah, this is what I'm ready to do this. I don't know why, but kind of got the itch back for football, and it ended up being a great situation. Maybe not a great situation, but a situation that everything fell into place for it to happen. And so kind of went as we needed it to in order to say yes. And so I texted Coach Kyle and said, hey, I'm ready to tell you yes, as long as we can get these, like, as long as we can figure out some of the logistics here. I'm in and I'm ready. And he said, great, we'll keep working on our end. And then another week or so went by, and he said, all right, I think we're good. Like, we can make this work. And so that's kind of how it happened. My wife probably regrets it now, but she loves it here too, but definitely different. And she misses home, and of course I do too. It's nice to be permanently in one spot and at a home, and raising your family there, but a really fun adventure. She's always the adventurous one. That's how her family is. And so it was like, all right, this is my turn I'll get on board with the adventure and see how you like it. And she's probably regretting it a little bit, but it's been awesome.
I love the story, man. I have to say. Now, obviously, football wasn't finished with you yet, right? You said you made the decision to move away from football. What was the decision, or what was the reason behind that? To focus on family and just like what's after football, or were you also like emotionally maybe drained a little bit? It is tiresome, right?
Yeah.
Division I football and everything. What made you step away in the first place?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both. The main one was probably emotional, kind of just worn out. I mean, been playing for 20 years or so, and I felt like, hey, I'm healthy, I'm in a good spot mentally, and I can walk away here knowing that I did really well as a football player, and that I don't have any regrets. I'm all right. And so part of it was just emotionally, I was drained, probably physically too. My body just needed a break. And I mean, going for that long constantly, I mean, you get a couple weeks off or a month off here and there, but you're still working out. You're not really ever off. And so just being able to say, hey, I can relax, and I don't have to go kill my body today and go grind on a workout and all this stuff. I think that was
Yeah, I
really
heard you.
appealing. And then part of it was the family aspect of it. I wanted to raise my family, and the more you watch some of those Netflix series about quarterbacks and stuff like that, it's like, oh man, like this is a tough lifestyle. Like obviously you get paid a lot of money to play a game, and there's that aspect of it, but part of it is like you don't really get to be with your family a lot, and you're gone a lot of the week and then on Sundays, and Sundays are a big thing for me as a church going person. I want to spend my Sundays as much as I can at church and with my family and worshiping God. And so that was a big part of it was, hey, if I'm trying to go play in the NFL, all of our games are on Sundays. I mean, you get the occasional Monday or Thursday, but this is a weekly thing for more than half the year. And so that was a huge part of it. And then, yeah, I mean, it all kind of factored in, but yeah, I love that we get to play for the most part on Saturdays here in the GFL.
Yeah, but like I said, right, football wasn't done with you, but I understand where you're coming from, right? It is draining, and also with you having been on that mission trip for 2 years, I believe you said, right? So you're also a bit older, a bit more mature, right? So it's you're probably a bit more able to make, a decision at that point to say, okay, it's time for the next phase in life, whichever way you want to call it, and then step away from football. But I'm happy, and Dresden is happy that football called you back, here and playing. But I love, if you don't mind sharing some personal information. How old are your kids? I love that you involve them and they were part of the decision making, and you coming over here. I have 3 kids, so
Awesome.
I know how that is. They keep them in the loop and make sure it's a unique, not unique, united decision as a family, right? That
For
you're
sure.
making. But how old are your kids, if I may ask?
Yeah, and congratulations on the fourth one on the way. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I have one daughter she'll turn 3 in October, and then the other one is turning 1 next week. So yeah, they're just
Oh,
about
cool.
2 years apart, just under 2 years apart. And then, I mean, we'll plan to have a couple more and see how many we get to. But yeah, they definitely factor in, and I mean, just a joy in my life. And yeah, we had
Cool.
let's see, our first one we had during a bye week in my junior season of college, and so blessings that we actually had a schedule change right before the season, and we had to change the schedule, and it ended up being the week that she was born. So it ended up working out perfect for us.
Awesome. There is no coincidences, right? So
Nope.
that's perfect timing for sure. Um, but let's come back to the GFL. Like I love the story you shared on how you made the decision together as a family and you came over here. But what were your expectations now about football here in Europe, football in Germany, and how were these met? Like, how was the reality? Maybe close to or completely different to what you expected?
I think it was pretty close. I mean the biggest expectation, I guess, or maybe the level of competition expectation was mainly given from coaches here that I talked to, and then a couple third party people that I knew that knew somebody else, and so that was maybe a little skewed. But the coaches here said, hey, for the most part, I think it's going to be a pretty high level of maybe Division II, low Division I FCS, and then depending on the week, it could be higher than that. It could be maybe a little bit lower, but I think they did a good job kind of selling it as it is. I don't know. It's hard to tell as a player that's been through it and still pretty recent how it compares to the United States. And it is different because guys are older. You got anywhere from 18-year-olds to 40-year-olds or maybe even higher than that. And so that aspect of it kind of throws you off a little bit and trying to compare the two. But I think that it's a high level competition, and I've been really impressed week in and week out. It's like, all right, this is a good defense that we're going to go against. And this is kind of the problems that they are going to pose for us. And this is what they're going to try to do. They got playmakers all over. And I think it's been really cool to see, like, we don't have any easy games on the schedule. Like, we haven't played a team that's just bad. Like, looking at some of the scores last year, it was the same way. Like, you look at some of the Potsdam scores and it was like, oh, they beat this team by 60 last year. And some of their scores, it was like, wow, are they that good or are the teams that bad? And then getting here is like, no, they were that good and still are that good, but the teams aren't bad. And I think maybe the level of knowledge of football is a little bit lower. Maybe not lower, but younger, still developing. And I think some of the guys that are coming up in our program and then in the programs around the league are awesome because they've been exposed to it from a younger age and they're just growing in that knowledge. And football is becoming more accessible through social media or through different streaming platforms. And so I think the game is just growing here, and it's good to see.
Yeah, it is. It is great to see, and I love how you already spoke about it. I think I spoke to PJ about this last week. That you're only as smart as what you've been exposed to, right? And there's more ways to get exposed to football, whether it's YouTube, whether it's more games on TV, but also more and more experienced players coming over here and then sharing the knowledge, right? I'm pretty sure you're also. I mean, I just know that from experience that it was always the case that when we had import players come into the Adler team that I used to coach, which used to be GFL, that the Americans were to some extent also coaches, right? Sharing their knowledge, sharing their experiences with the lesser experienced players, and they would soak everything up like like a sponge. So it's great that you refer to that because I just truly feel that's the difference. Yeah, I just love reflecting on that aspect, right? You're only as smart as what you've been exposed to, right? And of course, in the States, you're exposed to way more coaching, way more football at a different level than here in Germany, whether it's over here, older players playing, but also these older players have probably been exposed to less football than younger players going to a Division I, do 2 or 3 schools. So
Yeah.
it's great that you reflect on that, and hats off on how you reflect to the level of the GFL. Right, it shows humbleness and maturity. Right, that you bring over here to Germany on how you see the other teams, and you don't underestimate anybody. Um, so great to hear all those things. Now, how do you prepare for a game over here, right? You spoke about Potsdam, and I'm really looking forward to that last game of the season for sure before the playoffs start. But what's your week look like around football, anyways, right? How do you prepare yourself from the very first day after the last game until game day, the next game? Run us through that a little bit.
Okay, I think really Mondays are big days for just getting on the film. Really try to dive in and get an overview of what this team is, whoever we're playing. What kind of coverages do they run? What do they like to do? Do they have a unique formation or defense? What do they like to blitz? How have they played different teams? Kind of get the overall feel for them, and then go in and talk with Coach Cruse on Tuesdays, and we talk about what we've both seen and what we like, maybe what we don't like yet. And sometimes it takes another day, and hey, let's watch a little bit more to get a better feeling of them. And so from then on, we kind of start the game plan process. And I mean, he does it earlier and in picking some of the plays that he likes and formations and things like that. But really, after our talk, I mean, I'm preparing for our talk on Tuesday morning. And then after that, it's all right, let's start diving in a little bit more, get a little bit of situations. First and second down, how do they operate? Do they change on third down? What do they like to do in the red zone? Those are probably the biggest ones for me. And I mean, obviously, there's other stuff like 2-minute and 4-minute and different situations in the games and stuff like that. But I think, and another difference between the GFL and college is that you don't have as many coaches on it, right? And in college, you have 5 or 6 or 10 or wherever you're at, graduate assistants that are sitting there breaking down film every week. And here, if you're lucky, you got a few full-time coaches, but a lot of teams just have 1, maybe 2, and so they're really digging in when they can, their free time or at night, crazy hours, and doing that. But I think for us, especially as imports, where you don't maybe have quite as much to do, it's a little bit easier to dig in there and then share your opinions and thoughts and kind of help in that process, where in college it's more, all right, show up and you better be prepared for what all these coaches are going to tell you. And obviously depends where you're at. Some like more input. Some coaches don't like as much input on the game plan. But here, I think Coach Cruse does a great job of involving me and then involving the rest of the offense too. And what do we like? And what do you guys see on film? Is there anything that I've missed or anything that I've seen and you guys have missed? So we get to talk about that. And then Wednesdays and Thursdays we have practice. And so a lot of that focus is just continuing to improve, maybe throw some new wrinkles of stuff in, or just practice stuff we want to look at and try things out. I think the Monarchs do a great job with that. It starts with Coach Seaman at the top, and then Coach Cruse and Coach Schmidt as our coordinators. They're not afraid to try new things. And I remember in college, if we were throwing a trick play in there or just a new formation of something, sometimes the coaches were like, let's not waste time on practicing that. And here it's like, well, maybe it'll work. Let's try it. And I really love that creativity, but also just willingness to fail. Because it is practice. We're trying to see if stuff works. And if it doesn't work, all right, we'll cut it out and maybe we'll try to tinker with it and fix it for another time. But let's not waste any more time on it. But we can take a rep and see what it looks like, or walk through it and take a minute to talk about it. So I do really like that. And then, like I said, Thursday we have practice, and Friday just kind of getting ready for games. When we have a game on Saturday, on Sunday, it's nice to have an extra day there. So kind of pushes everything back a little bit. But in terms of working out, I think the other guys you've talked to have said similar things, where it's 3 or 4 times a week, kind of getting your heavy lifts in and then tapering it off. I'm probably pretty similar, where I kind of get my lifts in early and then get a rest day in there, and then start to move some weight again on Friday or Saturday before a game. I like having my own schedule and kind of molding to what I feel is good for my body. Another thing I really like about the GFL as opposed to college in the States is that I have total freedom of what I want to do for my workouts, and then how long I want to go, my intensity. If I don't feel good one day, how can I adjust it? And then just which days I work out. Because in college, you're working out at whatever your set time is, 3 days a week or whatever it is, but it's all set and you don't have an option. Which, I mean, they have it because you got to do it that way, right? You can't trust 18, 19, 20-year-olds to all know what they're doing and do their own thing. But I think that's one thing that I've enjoyed is learning about, through my years, is learning about different workouts and workout plans, exercises, how to create the best version of myself in mobility and flexibility, pliability, all that kind of stuff, and get the most out of my body, stay injury free as much as possible, and be able to recover still, but also stay strong, be able to absorb hits. Because I think, especially as a quarterback, I've always thought, hey, why am I working out the same as these linebackers and defensive line and offensive line? Because they're doing a whole different job. And it's kind of like you mentioned earlier, where every position is specific. We're doing specific things, specific techniques, and it's like you're playing a whole different game than somebody at a different position. And so I've always been a big fan of different workouts for myself, and not always possible depending on where you're at in college. But being here, I really enjoy that, where I can take that responsibility of my body, and I can make sure I'm in the right spot. And it is a big responsibility, because if you do something wrong, you're costing your whole team, maybe a game or multiple games. And so not taking that lightly, and then being able to just do what feels good for you and what is still going to push you but keep you healthy, because I'm absorbing hits. I'm not giving very many, if at all, any hits this year.
I hear you, but you touched on it, right? The workout is not necessarily only to get you to be faster, more powerful, throw the ball further, whichever, right? It's also to protect yourself, to stay healthy, right? Because that the muscles and everything that you build, and the agility, the flexibility, right? It's also there in case you do go through, I don't know, extraordinary situations in a play, in a game, that you're able to come out healthy and then focus on the next play. So it's very critical. And I think, you touched on as well, like you're a pro over here. You, getting paid as much as in the NFL or maybe some other pro leagues, obviously, right? But you're a pro, you're able to manage your own day. And the background maybe in the GFL anyway is that, people go their way throughout the week and throughout the day because they got jobs, they got their families and everything. At the college level, right, you're all on campus. The classes are kind of structured also in the bigger programs around the program, right? So you all meet up in the morning, you work out, you meet up in the afternoon, you work out and all these things, and you put, I don't know how many football players did you have at Southern Utah? I don't know, 70 or more, right? You got to put all of them through the weight room in X minutes. It's just a whole different scenario. But yeah, again, I just love how mature you approach everything and how serious you take the thing, specifically after already having made the decision once to step away from it. But thanks for sharing. So you practice 2 times a week, right? You said so, Wednesdays and Thursdays are your practice days. Do you also have like a work walkthrough or something towards the end of the week or pre-game, just to kind of like mentally be sharp before the game's kicked off?
No, we'll throw on Tuesdays most weeks, as imports, and then whoever else of the German kids are free to join us when they can, and then practice Wednesday, Thursday, and then Fridays really, or maybe Saturdays if we have a later game, is we'll get as many guys as can come, for the offense at least, and we'll watch film together. So we'll watch practice from Thursday and review some of that stuff. And then we'll just go through one of the games, maybe the most recent or most impactful game of film that the team, our opponent, has played. So like this last week, we were playing Kiel, and their previous game was against New Yorker. And so that was the game we focused on a little bit more. Just kind of going through and making sure we all see things the same way, because everybody watches film differently, and nobody's necessarily right or wrong in how they're doing it, but I think it's good to get everybody on the same page. So that's kind of our version of a walkthrough. We don't really have any walkthroughs or extra meetings like that. But yeah, we get together on our own and go in somebody's apartment and hook it up to a TV and kind of go through it as best we can.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And yeah, now let's look at the season, right? We spoke about it before. 8-0, unbeaten so far. Help us get your perspective. Reflect a little bit on how did the season feel? What went great? Obviously, a lot of things went well, but what maybe didn't go so well that maybe people didn't notice? And what are you working on improving? Whether it's for you individually or as a team. You touched a little bit on turnovers early in the game, for example. Run us through the season up till now, and yeah, how did that feel, and what are you working on to continue strong?
I think the most important game for me was our preseason game against Rostock. and we got to travel up there and get the feel of, all right, we're going on a long bus ride, and then we got to get off and play a game. And so I think the coaches did a great job scheduling that and gave us a home game against Leipzig for more of the German players, and then said, all right, you guys are going on the road and playing a really good Rostock team. They're playing really well right now in GFL 2. And so we had to go do that and figure it out. And so that was a really good game for us to kind of see where we're at mentally, and then play the game. And then after that, it was a really good defense with Hildesheim. I think they tested us in some ways that we weren't expecting, and so that was an important game for us. Obviously, the first game of the year, you want to win, and you want to win every game. But that one, getting off on a good foot, and then kind of, all right, where's our offense at? How can we improve? What things do we need to improve on? What did they do to kind of hurt us in some ways and stop us? Are we stopping ourselves, or are they stopping us? And so I think throughout the year, some of the biggest things have been, hey, we're just killing ourselves. Like we're fumbling the ball, we're turning the ball over, not protecting it, maybe making a dumb play here or there. I think one thing like from this last week was, hey, we're in a 2-minute drill. Let's get out of bounds, right? We don't want to waste time and stay in bounds and fight for 1 or 2 yards when we can step out of bounds 2 yards back, but now the clock stops. And so, I mean, being able to win and learn those lessons is obviously ideal, and that's what we've been able to do so far. But I think just those little things where we all need to be on the same page. We need to protect the football better for the rest of the year and into the playoffs. That's going to be a big focus for us. Is let's hold on to the ball, because every possession is important for us. We want to score every time we have the ball, and if we give the ball to the defense, we're failing at that. And so that's obviously a huge one. But then just some of those little things where situational football comes into play. In 2-minute drills and 4-minute drills, holding on to the ball and make sure we're protecting it, staying in bounds, being able to somehow generate an explosive play in a 4-minute drill, being able to drive down when we need to and take time off the clock, or being able to go fast. Just different ways of manipulating our own offense to do what the team needs us to do to win. And so throughout the year, I think we've done a good job at that. We've obviously, as an offense, we've scored a good amount of points, and we've seems like we've been playing well. But I think probably more than half of those games, there's a lot of stuff we can fix. And so I think the winning helps everybody stay in a good frame of mind, because I know losing can get everybody down, or maybe it motivates you, but winning certainly keeps you in a good state. But making sure that we're learning from what we're doing here. We're not just winning and moving on to the next week doing the same thing that we were doing because it worked maybe, or we got by doing it, but making sure that we're continually improving each week and continuing to win. But we got to get better. There's a lot of stuff in here, whether it's route techniques or ball placement or holding on to the football or blocking schemes, stuff like that, protections, whatever it may be, we got to get better at it. There's no perfect in this game, which is a good part of football as well, where you're never going to be perfect. Yeah. You might be perfect for a play, but you're not going to be perfect for a whole game. So there's always something to work on.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what you're also describing, right, is a championship mindset, right? I think the details you're looking at, even though you're winning the games, you're also at times dominating, to be blunt, at least from my perspective. But keeping that mindset of not getting too high on the good plays, not getting too high on the wins, but always looking back at what could I have done better. Not in a negative sense, but right, that is the difference between a playoff team and a championship team. If you can have that mindset as a unit, and that's just so great to hear. And obviously, you very early in the season already, you found that that awesome connection you have with Tyler Hudson, right? I mean, that's something that helps you win some of these games, but it doesn't mean that everything is going well. I mean, he's by far the leading scorer in the league, and I think he's a great asset to have on every team. But I love how your leadership is reflected in what you said, that you're not just saying, okay, let's just go there, right? It's dominating, it's working, let's continue to do that. You want to be best at all aspects of the game, and that speaks for you and the Monarchs this year. So I'm excited to see if that turns out into a championship team, right? You mentioned it in the very first interview that I read about you, that you want to support the Monarchs in winning that championship at home, and I think that would be just such a great experience to have. But when you look at yourself, how satisfied are you with your personal performance? What could you have maybe done better individually?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think going into the season, it was a lot of, hey, I don't know how long I'm playing. This could be it again, and so let's go out there and have fun and enjoy what we're doing. And I'm still this way where I don't care about the stats. I don't look at the stats, and Tyler will tell me, hey, you had this many yards, and this is kind of where we're at. Toff will say, hey, I'm leading here, or I need some more rushing yards, hand me the ball off a little bit more, stuff like that. Which I mean it's all fun and good there. But I mean my expectations for myself were really go out there and have fun and enjoy what you're doing, because you don't know how long it's going to be. I mean, I thought I was done, so it's kind of like a bonus round for me right now. But I think the biggest thing getting back into it was, all right, make sure I can throw a football first. But after that is getting that mental side back. And I would have coaches that would say, yeah, as I've gotten older, I've gotten better mentally because I see the game differently. I feel like if I went back and played quarterback again, I'd be a way better player. And I do feel some of that already. I haven't been far away from it for so long, but I think stepping away and being able to watch football a little bit more as a fan, but still as a quarterback, you get to see some different perspectives and you get to see things a little bit differently. And so the expectations and where I'm at, I think, I mean, still a lot to improve on. I'm I don't love, I never really enjoy watching game film of the day before, because I always know there's going to be stuff that I missed and stuff that I'll be mad at myself for. And why did you do that? Why didn't you throw that one? Which is always kind of tough because you never want to hear that you're wrong all the time, especially from yourself. But yeah, I think just the mental side of it, where your decision making can always improve, and you can be better here or there. I mean, throwing the ball is definitely one thing, and I can continue getting better at that. But I'm always more interested in the mental decision making and things like that happen throughout the game, because I think for the most part the physical things take care of themselves. Every once in a while, hey, you'll throw a bad ball or something will happen here. You get sacked. You couldn't escape and get out. I mean, that stuff happens, but could I have done something differently in my decision making pre-snap or post-snap that could have avoided that situation as a whole? And how could that have changed?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of still improving and coming back, and hopefully it continues to improve for the rest of the year.
Well, everybody better watch out if it continues to improve. But I hear you for sure. But your season's been awesome, and I think I touched on it. I was invited as a guest in the league podcast, so to say, and we spoke about performers and everything, and of course you were part of that discussion, right? So it's great to see the numbers that you put up. But as you said yourself, it's not about the numbers, right? It's about making the right decisions, putting the team in the best position to win, and making your teammates around you better, right? Via the actions that you have at hand, or the things that you can control. Um, Now, looking ahead, what's your journey look like from your perspective? Do you see yourself playing a little longer in the GFL, continue to play ball? Do you think about maybe going into coaching with maybe football not having you let go? Yeah, what is your journey? What's your plan after the season, so to say?
That's a really good question. I'm trying to figure that one out still. I'm sure football will be involved somewhere in there. I'm not really sure yet. I think um, just having a family and with my wife and everything, I think the GFL would be a tough one to come back to. Logistically, just being gone from them for so long. I mean, the Monarchs have been awesome to basically get us together for as much time as we could in the 90-day windows and maximize that time. So I'm super grateful for them about that. I think going forward, I mean, I told my wife if I was single, I'd play here for 15 years, 20 years, and play till I was 40, just like some of these guys do. I'd come back every year and do this. Just because it's fun football. It's enjoyable and it's a high level of football, and it's just a fun lifestyle to be in. And obviously, that's not realistic for me right now. Um, and so, in being in the situation I'm in, I think it'll be a little bit different. Definitely, we'll have more conversations with my family and see what's going to work best for us. I know we've talked about maybe some other options that maybe going back if I want to keep playing and try my luck in the UFL or uh, see what happens over there. Maybe get an opportunity in Japan or something like that. I think that would be super awesome to go play over there. But yeah, I mean, all my love to the Monarchs, and we'll see what happens. Definitely not counting it out to come back for another year. Maybe a little less likely, but definitely possible. And I would love to come back. So we'll see what happens down the road. After that, whenever I'm done playing, I think the plan right now is to get into quarterback coaching, not for necessarily a school, but just private coaching. I have a really awesome coach back in Utah with Quarterback Elite, one of the top in the nation and definitely the top quarterback training in Utah. And look forward to helping him. And he also has another nonprofit organization that he runs called Especially for Athletes. And they go around to high schools and different clubs and associations and stuff like that and talk about the importance of being a light and being an example to the people around you. Because as athletes, and I mean athletes in general, but especially for football, you have a different, they call it a sport light, kind of spotlight, sport light. And people recognize you. People know who you are around school and around the community. And so maximizing that in the most positive way possible and making sure that you're doing the right things, you're being a good person, you're looking out for those around you that might be less fortunate or might need an extra friend, might need a smile or a hug or a conversation with somebody. And so I've always loved that program. I think there's so much good that can come out of it, and we need more light and positivity in the world. And so being a part of that program when I get back as well is definitely at the top of my list. So kind of those two would be the main next step after I'm done playing. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. You never know. I didn't think I was going to be playing again, so we're already doing things out of what we thought was possible.
Yeah, but I think everybody understands that this is going to be a family decision. You proved that before, right? And it needs to be that way. Everybody with common sense, I think, understands that. So fair point. And but you also said there's other football out there. Japan has a very big corporate league. They've been playing football for 70+ years over there. So there's some good football around the globe, not just in the U.S., but of course the top ball is in the U.S. And good luck from my side for you and that journey. But I love how you also spoke about giving back, right, from the experiences you've been able to make through football, and that's something that I always want to do as well, and that I still do. If there's camps here, if teams reach out, I try to join their camps and help the quarterbacks because I've been so blessed with the people around me, the coaches that have coached me, the places I've seen because of football. And I want to enable other kids to hopefully have a similar experience. Definitely. So good to know. And who knows? Maybe it is the GFL, maybe not. But again, from my side, for sure, best of luck on that journey and the decision making process. Family first, of course.
Thank you.
But let's step away a little bit from football and look at the cultural side of things. Right? You spent 2 years in Romania, which is still probably a lot different than Germany in a lot of aspects, not meant negatively or anything, right? A lot of different cultures in a very compressed space in Europe. And tell us a little bit, how did you get your feet on the ground in Germany, specific with your family being there? What was a couple of maybe cultural shocks or surprises? I spoke to PJ and Cole a little bit about some of the little things, that you don't expect. How was that for you and maybe your wife as well?
Yeah, I think the number one in Germany that is definitely not a thing in Romania is all the biking. Um, the coaches prepared us for it and told us, hey, biking's huge here, and you'll get a bike and all that stuff. When I was in Romania, I mean, there were bikers, but kind of the same in the States where, yeah, you see an occasional biker and they're here and there, but in Dresden, especially, I mean, I haven't been as many places, and you see them when we travel and stuff. But in Dresden, there's everybody biking around. There's hundreds of people on bikes, and you see them every single street you're on. There's other bikers coming. You got to watch out for them and learn kind of the rules of the road with bikes. And then I think when you do have a car and you're driving, one of the differences is some of the speed limits. I think they're a lot slower here, except when you get on the Autobahn and it changes. But for the most part in the city, in the States, you're driving probably around 45 miles an hour to maybe 55 miles an hour, where here, if you switch it over, it's closer to like 35 miles an hour. So that's been a big difference, making sure not speeding, and then you can get tickets without getting pulled over too. So you got to be careful. Um, but I love here that everybody's out and about. That's one thing. My parents and had some grandparents here last week that they went over to the malls and were walking around the center of town, and they said, "Man, everybody's outside and everybody's at the mall. Like this is a really hopping place." And in the States, it's not so much that way anymore. Where a shopping mall, I mean, you might get people in there, and there's some traffic and stuff, but not like it is here where everybody's out, everybody's walking around, biking. When they're out having dinner, they're sitting out there lounging around, and it's really a social event. It's less of let's get dinner and move on with our night. It's more, oh, let's socialize and hang out. And I really like that part of it. I don't get to enjoy that part of it with two kids that don't want to sit still at a restaurant. But but when me and my wife do get some time and we get to go out, it's nice to be relaxed, and you're not sitting at a restaurant in a rush. You're not walking around being rushed somewhere. So that's great. I think maybe some of the other differences are, I mean, obviously the language, a big difference. Personally, for me, speaking Romanian and then coming over to Germany, it throws me off because I'm speaking a different. I know it's not English, but I want to speak back in some other language that I know, but it's not German. And so holding my tongue on those is like, oh,
Yeah.
I can't just start ripping off Romanian because they're not going to have any idea what I'm saying. But yeah, trying to learn Romanian or German a little bit, and I mean some of the imports here have been great about it. I know one of our receivers, Aaron, he's been really good. Tries to speak German as much as he can, and is really learning a lot. And then we got some of our other Austrian teammates that already speak German, so if you have questions, you can ask them, and that's really helpful. But I think, I mean, it speaks to our import group as well that I think we're pretty close and have a good group and a good chemistry between everybody where we all get to spend time around each other, and I think that helps as well, where we're all in a new place, and we can kind of do it together.
Yeah. Cool. But it is always a little bit of a culture shock, right? When you go somewhere else and things like, but what have you like, if you would pick out one thing that you like the most about Germany, what would that be?
I think it probably is some of that social aspect of it, where I mean, people are just a little more relaxed, and they're cool with hanging out and just not doing anything. They don't have to be on their phones, sitting at the tables and being on social media. They can sit there and have a conversation with you. I really like that part of it. I think that's probably the top one, actually, is being here, and especially with teammates and stuff like that. You get guys after practice that want to hang out and talk, and they don't want to just go straight to their phones. They'll sit there and talk to you. You ask them questions and ask them about their lives and stuff like that, and they love to talk about it, as anybody does, right? You can always talk about yourself and your family and your job and all that stuff. You just need people to ask you about it, and so I really enjoy that, where nobody's in a rush to get out of here and leave, and I don't know, yeah, it's just a little slower.
But let's dive into maybe the crowd and everything, right? Is there like before we finish up, I've got this rapid fire round that I ask everybody that's joined me from at least around GFL quarterbacks that have joined my podcast so far. But before we dive into this, anything you want to shout out to the Monarchs community, Monarchs fan base, or anybody that maybe a shout of appreciation or something you want to get out that's important for you to raise?
Yeah, I think just shout out to all the fans of the GFL, and then especially of the Monarchs. Shout out to our coaches here, and our GM Jurg, and all of our board and presidents and sponsors. So grateful for them, and they do great work for us. But the fans especially, they're loyal and they're awesome. They're so loud. Huge difference than it is in the States, where I mean, fans will get loud for third downs and situationally in the game. Our fans are loud on every play. Maybe not as much when we're on offense, which I appreciate, and I'm thankful for that. But when we're on defense, they are loud, and they're ringing their bells and playing with their toys, and they're slamming drums and I mean, they're just making noise, going with the horns and everything. That's a huge difference that I think it makes a difference too. It can make it hard to operate as an offense. It's pretty annoying when you got to use a different snap count, or you got to adjust some things for the week when you know you're coming to play in a loud stadium. And I think our fans do a great job. At Rostock, actually, in our preseason game, is the first time I heard it. Where they traveled to it. We had probably 50 or 60 fans that traveled up to the game for a preseason game, and they were loud, and they caused some false starts and some offsides, and they did a great job. But yeah, the fans are awesome here, and I mean, for any of the fans listening, I would say just keep doing what you're doing, and bring more people along with you. Bring some more friends and expose them to football, and let them fall in love with it.
The Monarchs have a great community. I know that, and then you touched on York, right, and everything. The let's say the structure he's been able to build up there for the Monarchs and around the Monarchs is just awesome. So shout out to you as well. I know him from back in the day, right? So it's a great job that the organization is doing as a general. Yeah, but before we finish up, I talked about the rapid fire questions, so let's get into them a little bit. I don't know if you've heard them from the last couple of sessions because you told
Yep.
me you listened to PJ and you listened to Cole, so you kind of know what's coming, even though I adjusted one of the questions a little bit. But first one, beer or bratwurst?
Bratwurst.
Okay, it's probably because of the beer, right? But I get
Yeah.
it. Then next one, burger or döner?
I would pick both, but if I have to choose, I go Duna.
Okay.
Every in the routine now, every Tuesday we got a place over by our facility that that I
It's
go over
awesome.
to. So yeah, it's definitely here. I mean, I have a lot more than I do burgers. So if we had some over in Utah, they'd get my business for sure.
Maybe a business idea. Who knows? I don't know if a lot of people would buy Döner in Utah, but anyway, I hear you. It's great that you go every week. I love that. Now, NFL team you'd love to play for.
Oh, that's a tough. I mean, I've been thinking about that one for a couple days now, and um, I think if I could pick anyone right now, I think I'd go with the Raiders. And I mean, growing up as a Chargers fan, and then after that, I mean, I was just a big Tom Brady fan, which is probably the next question. But Patriots fan the rest of the way, and then Bucks fan for a couple years. But I mean, with the move to Vegas, being a little bit closer to Utah, and then I'm a huge hockey fan as well, and a big Vegas Golden Knights fan. So if we could stay close there and play for the Raiders, that's probably the one I would choose.
I'm excited to see what they do this year. They're really ramping up, so
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what's happening in Las Vegas for sure. You kind of knew this one's coming, of course. So I changed the question a little bit. Now it's what's your favorite QB to watch and why?
Oh, I mean, like I said in the past, Tom Brady for sure. Another one would probably be Drew Brees. And then, I mean, I grew up watching a lot of Phillip Rivers, watching the Chargers, but present day, um, that's a tough one. I think there's a lot of good quarterbacks in there right now. I mean, Josh Allen's up there. Joe Burrow's up there. I think those two are studs. I think maybe one of the top ones actually for me would be Matthew Stafford. Still one of those older guys, kind of more my generation of players, but I've always admired his toughness. Like I said, big hockey fan, and so I'm always big on you play through pain and you get hit and you get back up and you take a hit to make a play, stuff like that. And that's the epitome of Matthew Stafford right there. Is that dude will play through anything he has, as long as he can. I mean, kind of play. He'll make sure he's on the field.
Yeah, and people think that they're going to have a good year this year. So it'll be interesting to see what numbers he's going to put up for sure. Last but not least, hardest college hit you ever took.
Yeah, that one comes straight to mind for me. When I saw that question or heard that question, I knew what my answer was going to be for that one. We went, so we had the COVID year. We didn't play anything that year, and then we played our spring season in 2021, 6 games, and then after that, we came back and played in the fall again. We went down to Arizona State and I mean, super awesome environment, super loud and great fans, great student section. And early in the game, a second drive maybe, we were playing under center quite a bit in that offense. And so fake a handoff and turning around with a naked rollout or bootleg. And as soon as I turn around, I knew there was a chance that the D end was coming after me. And I mean, it was either their first or second game of the year. It was our second game, so they kind of knew our offense, and we had a decent idea what they were doing on defense. But I knew that there was a chance, so I whipped my head around, and there's a big defensive end running straight at me. So I throw the ball down at our tight end's feet, and knew that I was going to just get rocked. And he went helmet to my chin, and he ended up getting ejected for it for targeting. But yeah, that was a hard hit, and came back up. I thought my chin strap had broken, but got back up and it was all right. I was actually bleeding underneath it, but I don't know how that one happened. But yeah, I got up and I mean, I was all right. Didn't really phase me necessarily, but it was a hard hit for sure, and definitely felt that one the next day. But yeah, I've taken some good shots in my career. Grateful that I'm healthy and none of them have been too bad. But Yeah, that was the one that I remember for sure.
There's a reason why they call it naked, right? So
Yep.
there's just nobody protecting you from that contain player for sure. Thanks for sharing, man. And I've had my share of those as well. But Justin, seriously, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking out the time with football, but also with your wife and your family. I know the evenings are often the quality time, specifically when you don't have practice. So really, really appreciate it. Had a blast chatting with you. All the best for the rest of the season. Stay healthy. Yeah. So again, thanks for joining. I don't know if you want to share something before we kind of go offline with the listeners or so.
Yeah, just a thank you to you. I think you're doing a great job here, and it's cool to hear some of the perspectives from other quarterbacks and positions around the league. I loved hearing Cole and PJ's experiences and how they're liking it in Dusseldorf and Kiel, and I look forward to hearing some of the other ones as well. So hats off to you and keep doing your thing.
Appreciate it, man. Then again, take care, and who knows? Maybe next year we'll have you on the show from a different league or the GFL. So
I
take
hope
care.
so.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.